Let us begin in the heart of New England. In the year 1691, the wind stirs through the bare trees, and the snow has begun to settle gently across the rooftops of Salem village, a small farming community tucked away from the world. By the firelight, families gather. The scent of beeswax candles and hearth smoke fills the air. Children murmur bedtime prayers, and their mothers pull woolen blankets to their chins. Outside, the only sound is the hush of the wind across the frozen fields. This is a land where belief is a constant companion. The villagers live by rhythm of scripture and sermon. The Puritans of Massachusetts see the world as a battlefield between the divine and the demonic. It is a simple world in some ways, but not a peaceful one. Men rise before the sun to tend to their fields, oxen breath steaming in the cold morning air. Women prepare porridge and bread over the hearth, their hands red raw from winter's bite. Children recite verses from their primers before walking into the meeting house for lessons under stern eyes. And always, on Sundays, the whole town gathers in wooden pews for hours of sermon, where the wrath of God is spoken in hushed, trembling tones. Yet, beneath this order lies a gathering tension. There are disputes over property boundaries, grievances between neighbours, arguments over ministers' salary. Reverend Samuel Parris, recently appointed to Salem village, is a stern, uncompromising man. His sermons are filled with warnings of hellfire and the devil's snares. Some families, like the Putnams, support him fiercely. Others, like the Porters, oppose his influence. Whispers rise in the stillness of evenings, whispers of discontent, of strange happenings in the woods, of disobedient daughters and mysterious illness. As the fire crackles and the snow settles in drifts, a shadow begins to grow. For now, it is unseen, but soon it will whisper through the cracks in every door. Before you drift softly into your slumber, I kindly request you to gently tap that like button and subscribe so you can find your way back to tomorrow's story. In the parsonage of Reverend Parris, the cold winds creep through the shuttered windows. Inside, his household is troubled. His young daughter, Betty, and his niece Abigail Williams begin to act strangely. It begins slowly. A quiet refusal to eat, sleeplessness, then sudden fits, shrieks in the night, contortions of the limbs. Their eyes roll back in their heads. They claim to see things no one else can see. Spectres, shadows. The family is terrified. The village doctor is summoned. He examines the girls carefully but finds no fever, no illness he can name. And so, with resignation, he offers the only diagnosis left to him. The girls are under an evil hand, bewitched. Word spreads swiftly. In a town as small and tightly knit as Salem, every flicker of candlelight brings a new rumour. Others begin to exhibit strange behaviours. Anne Putnam, Mercy Lewis, and other girls soon join the chorus of affliction. They writhe and scream, claiming to be tormented by invisible spirits. The villagers begin to ask, who has done this to them? Under pressure, the girls begin to name names. Tituba, the enslaved woman brought from Barbados, is first. Then Sarah Good, a homeless woman known for muttering under her breath, and Sarah Osborne, who had not attended church in months. On a chilly day in March, they are arrested. The constable arrives at dawn, breath rising like mist as he knocks upon each door. The accused are taken away in wooden carts, the wheels creaking over rutted roads. The air in Salem grows thick with dread. Doors are bolted, eyes turned inward. Fear becomes the villagers' nightly visitor, and suspicion their constant companion. In the stone jails of Salem and Ipswich, the accused are shackled, iron rings around their wrists and ankles, straw on the floors, damp walls. The air smells of mildew and fear. Tituba is the first to be interrogated. She is questioned for hours, beaten and frightened. Finally, she confesses, but not as expected. She weaves a tale of the devil visiting her, of animals who speak, and of a book that many have signed. Her words ripple through the village like a gust of wind through dry leaves. Her confession gives shape to the villagers' darkest fears. If the devil is among them, he is not acting alone. Others are accused. Martha Corey, who had dared to express skepticism. Rebecca Nurse, beloved and elderly, whose arrest shocks many. Even Elizabeth and John Proctor, respected members of the community. Some protest, some pray, some remain silent. But the court listens to the afflicted girls, whose performances grow more theatrical, more terrifying. They claim spectres bite and choke them, that they are being dragged from the beds by unseen forces. And yet, outside, the rhythms of life persist. Cows must be milked, wood chopped, snow shoveled. But in the heart of the villagers, something shifts. Trust begins to unravel. Friends look away when they pass on the road. Neighbours speak in half sentences, afraid to say too much. The old rhythms of trust, of fellowship, are gone. Now there is only fear. And so, suspicion settles on a second snowfall, cold, relentless, heavy. By June of 1692, the jails are filled beyond capacity. Dozens sit behind bars, some for weeks without hearing their fate. The governor, Sir William Phipps, returns from war and acts quickly. He establishes a special court to deal with the crisis. The Court of Oyer and Termina. This court is composed of respectful men, judges, magistrates, and ministers. But their decisions will soon darken the pages of history. They accept spectral evidence, claims of dreams and visions as admissible. The afflicted girls are brought into court. As each accused enters, the girls fall into violent fits. They scream, they cry, they writhe on the floor. Bridget Bishop, known for her bold manner and colourful dress, is the first to be tried. Despite little evidence beyond the girl's testimony, she is found guilty. On June 10th, she is hanged on Gallows Hill. More trials follow. Susanna Martin, Sarah Wilds, Elizabeth Howe, each one found guilty based on little more than fear and fantasy. Fields begin to rot. Children go without shoes. The villagers' energy is consumed by the trials. Ministers from other towns voice concern, but the court moves forward. The afflicted girls continue to name names. And in the silence of their homes, families mourn. They mourn the lost, the accused, the condemned, and the certainty they once held in justice, now vanished like the mist in the morning sun. As stars prick the night sky and the moon hangs low, the village breathes in fear, and the gallows wait. The summer sun rises earlier now, stretching across the fields of Salem with golden light. The trees are lush, birdsong sweet, and the streams whisper gently between banks of green. Yet beneath this beauty, the village lives in a grip of terror. The trials continue. Each morning, carts creak down the rutted roads, carrying the accused towards the courthouse. People gather in silence, eyes downcast. The girls sit in front, often in clusters, their faces flushed and urgent. And whenever the accused speaks, the girls convulse, scream, claim to see demons and birds, claws and shadows. They are believed. The judges, led by Chief Justice William Staunton, take their words as truth. They believe they are confronting a spiritual war that Satan is inflicting through their neighbours, their wives, their children. Even Giles Corey, an aged farmer with calloused hands and slow speech, is accused. He refuses to plead. Under the law, he cannot be tried without a plea. So, he is pressed with stones. Laid on earth, flat boards are placed upon his chest, and heavy rocks are added. More and more, until his ribs crack. His last words are quiet. More weight. The summer sun does not pause. The wheat grows tall, but the village seems stilled in time, caught in a fever dream. No one knows who will be next. Fathers fear for their daughters. Wives pray for their husbands. Children cry in their sleep. Even those who once supported the trials begin to falter. Revered Hale, who came with a purpose and certainty, now questions his faith. He has seen too much. Too many kind women condemned. Too many confessions taken under duress or whispered in fear. He begins to visit the accused in jail, to listen, to pray, and to doubt. The parlour rooms once filled with cheerful fireside talk now sit in uneasy silence. Curtains are drawn more tightly. At twilight, families sit together without speaking, the air thick with dread. Even the livestock seem quieter, more still. In every part of life, at the blacksmith's forge, in the steepled meeting house, in the shops where fabric is sold and nails counted, people whisper. Their glances linger a moment too long. Their hands tremble as they pass loaves and coins. Trust is no longer the air they breathe. Fear is. The jail grows louder with sobs and quieter with hope. Yet the meadowlarks still sing. Their melodies drift through fields of blooming cover, carried by the breeze, as if untouched by the madness below. August brings heat that settles over Salem like a weight. The fields are dry, the days are long, and the lists of the condemned continue to grow. Among the hanged is Reverend George Burroughs, a former minister of Salem village. He had enemies, yes. He had critics. But he also had dignity. At his execution, he stands tall and speaks the Lord's Prayer, a feat supposedly impossible for a witch. Those watching are stunned. Some whisper, some weep. It does not matter. He is hanged. This moment marks a shift. The people begin to murmur more openly. If a man of God can be hanged, what safety is left? The court grows bolder. More are arrested, even children. Like Dorcas Good, the young daughter of Sarah Good. She is 4, shackled and jailed. She cries and trembles in her cell, until finally they release her. But she is never the same. Her laughter never returns. By day, fields stand still in the sun, parched and cracking. By night, the cool air offers no comfort. Dreams are filled with gallows and sobs. Fear, once whispered in corners, now speaks aloud in every home. Farmers leave fields unattended. The livestock suffer. Trade falters. Letters arrive from Boston, from Andover, from ministers and scholars begging the court to reconsider, to pause. Reverend Hale publicly denounces the trials. He begs for clemency, but many in the court remain unmoved. One voice grows louder. Increase Mather, a scholar and minister, writes that it is better for 10 guilty to go free than 1 innocent to be condemned. This idea spreads like rain over parched land. Still, the gallows claim their victims. Mary Parker, Alice Parker, Anne Pudetor. More names, more sorrow. Children no longer play near the woods. The creek is quiet. The orchard unpicked. And the wind no longer feels welcome. It whispers, but it brings no answers. But something has changed. The fear that once bound the village is loosening. Threads of doubt unravel, slowly, carefully, painfully. It is now late September. The leaves begin to turn. The mornings grow cooler, and the smell of wood smoke returns to the air. 9 more are condemned to hang. Among them, Martha Corey and Mary Easty. Brave, composed, they meet their fates with serenity. They proclaim innocence. They pray, and the nooses tighten. Silence falls over the watching crowd. The executions are no longer greeted with triumph or moral certainty. Instead, unease. Salem is tired, its spirit worn. Governor Phipps, upon returning from battle once more, is shaken by reports of what has unfolded in his absence. He halts the trials, dissolves the court. Spectral evidence is no longer accepted. One by one, the remaining prisoners are freed. Some are released for lack of evidence. Others escape only after months of waiting and begging. And so ends the madness. But it leaves a stain. A quiet grief. Many of those released from jail are broken. Some die within days. Families are left destitute. Land, once owned by the accused, is seized or left to rot. The forest turns orange and red. The sun fades earlier, and evening mist begins to creep low across the ground. Children gaze into the firelight, silent. Their parents wrap them tightly in quilts, kiss their brows, and offer soft hymns instead of stories. And in every corner of the village, there are empty chairs. At Gallows Hill, the grass returns. The wind blows freely, but the ground remembers. The dead are not forgotten. Years pass. In 1697, the year of fasting and repentance is declared. Judges confess their errors. The colony issues statements of regret. And slowly, very slowly, reparations begin. The descendants of the accused carrying their names like stones. Quiet. In time, the town of Salem seeks healing. Memorials are built. Stories preserved. The trials are studied, remembered, not as relics of superstition alone, but as warnings of what fear can do when goes unchallenged, when justice sleeps. Today, the wind still brushes over Gallows Hill. The homes of Salem stand, some unchanged. Tourists walk its streets, candlelit tours in hand, and they listen. They listen to the names, to the stories, to the echoes. The Salem witch trials lasted less than a year, but their tremors have lasted centuries. And as you lie quietly now, listening in the hush of your own room, may the past whisper gently, not in fear, but in remembrance. A reminder that kindness must never be silenced, that truth must never be forgotten, and that justice, once lost, must always be sought again. Time moves differently in a town that has seen much sorrow. In the weeks and months after the final trials, the village of Salem does not rush back to life. It eases forward, gently, as if the land itself was being disturbed too soon. The hearth becomes the heart of many homes once more. Its warmth is steady and faithful, casting soft orange light onto the wooden floors and faded rugs. Mothers stir stews of root vegetables and barley. Fathers carve small toys for their children from pine, their blades whispering through the grain like wind over grass. Outside, winter has not yet left entirely. Outside, winter has not yet left entirely. The snow lingers in shadows, crushed with ice. But along the southern fences of the fields, crocuses begin to bloom. A signal from the earth that warmth is returning. In the wake of tragedy, small things become sacred. The creak of the rocking chair, the hiss of logs in the fire, the way sunlight settles on the face of a sleeping infant. Some say that nothing truly returns to what it was. The grief becomes a thread in the fabric of every day. But even so, there is stitching to be done. Rebuilding, remembering. In the schoolhouse, the children read psalms aloud. Their voices are tentative at first, rising slowly in the cold room. They glance at one another, wary still. Trust, once frayed, is not mended overnight. The new magistrates speak with caution. The meetings are smaller. More questions are asked. More hands are raised. No one moves forward quickly, but still they move forward. And every so often, someone leaves a small bundle of herbs at a neighbour's door. A token, a quiet peace offering. Lavender for comfort. Rosemary for remembrance. Even the crows that perch on the bare tree limbs seem more curious than ominous. Their calls echo across the meadows, not as warnings, but as questions. What now? Where next? The ashes have settled, but the story continues. It is spring now. The first soft rains begin to fall, steady and nourishing. They dapple the roads and roof lines. Puddles collect near the steps of the meeting house, beneath the old elm tree on the edge of town. Green shoots of grass rise between its gnarled roots. This tree, older than any soul in the village, has become a place of gathering. not for official meetings or sermons, but for quiet thought. Children sit beneath its branches after their lessons. Women bring their mending and sit together in comfortable silence. Here, stories begin to return. Not the wild, fevered accusations of before, but real stories of how it felt to wait for news, of the days spent bringing food to the jail, of dreams lost and somehow still dreams found again. Beneath the elm, people remember. Rebecca Nurse's grandchild brings a small cross she had carved from driftwood and buries it near the roots. So the tree will remember her, she whispers. And it does. Stories are not banned anymore. They are encouraged. Ministers now speak of discernment, of patience, of listening with both ears and heart. No one uses the word witch easily anymore. It has become too sharp, too bitter, like tasting iron. But other words have taken its place. Sorrow, healing, return. The town records once a litany of arrests and verdicts, now hold pages of restoration, of land returned, of debts forgiven. The baker begins to make honey cakes again. He leaves small bundles of them by the doors of the elders, and across the fields, laughter begins to return, tentative, fluttering, like a sparrow testing the air. There is still pain, yes, and not everyone chooses to forgive, but here, beneath the elm, the seeds of mercy grow. Not every healing happens in Salem itself. In nearby towns, Marblehead, Andover, and Ipswich, there are those who remember what they witnessed, what they said, what they did not say. Letters begin to travel between households, some from mothers whose daughters were jailed, asking after the health of others, some from judges and jurors, unsure how to express regret, but trying. One letter from a man who once testified reads, "I spoke not from malice, but from fear, and I fear that is no excuse." These words pass from hand to hand, read beneath candlelight, beside hearths, beneath trees, and with each letter a small untying begins, a knot loosens, and a heart softens. The ministers, too, begin to write. Sermons are shared between churches. They speak of dangers of authority unchecked, of conscience ignored. They tell stories from the Bible, but they also tell stories from Salem, because to forget would be to risk repeating. Children now learn more than psalms. They learn what happened, gently, carefully. Teachers speak not of devils, but of doubt, of the need to ask, always, is this true? Is this kind? The wind carries pollen through the trees now. The apple blossoms open. Bees return to the orchard, and in the air There is something that was not there before. Not the blind hope of spring without memory, but the quiet, hard-earned hope that follows winter. The kind that says, we have seen the worst, and we choose to grow anyway. There is strength in that. There is love in that. Now, as dusk falls over Salem and the nearby farms, a warm orange glow stretches across the sky. It catches the top of the pines and stains the rivers with light. This is not the light of justice, triumphant or vengeance fulfilled. It is quieter than that. It is the light of understanding. At Gallows Hill, wildflowers bloom in clusters. No sign marks the place, but the earth remembers, and those who walked there do in silence. The town's youngest minister, not yet thirsty, kneels in the grass and places a single stone. He does not speak. He only bows his head. And when he rises, he walks slowly, as if carrying the weight of 100 names. In the town records, a final list is being written. Those whose names are to be cleared. It is not quick work. It takes months, years, but it is done. And one day, long from now, a poet will write of Salem, not with anger, but with mourning and with warning. Because the lesson was never just about witches. It was about fear, about power, about what we do to each other when we forget to see the human behind the accusation. And so the tale is told, not to keep the sorrow alive, but to honour those who bore it. You, dear listener, now carry that story too. You carry the memory. The flicker of candlelight, the hush of snowfall, the strength it takes to forgive. As night deepens around you, let the quiet of this hour wrap you like a quilt. Let the wind in the trees be your lullaby. Let the past drift gently into the distance. And may you sleep knowing, even in the darkest chapters, there are those who chose to hold a light. The sun lingers longer now, and the edges of the fields warm under the golden hush of early summer. In homes that were once sealed in grief, windows are being opened. The scent of lilacs drift through, soft and vivid, threading through woven curtains and sun-warmed floors. There are rooms in Salem that have remained undisturbed. Parlours where a shawl still hangs on the back of a chair. Bedrooms where the dust lies heavy on the quilt. These rooms are not forgotten, only paused, held in a long breath of mourning. Now, gently, people begin to return to them. A daughter unfolds her mother's linens, stored for months in cedar chests. She presses them smooth and lays them on a bed, speaking to the silence. A brother polishes the pewter plates once left unwashed, as if by restoring the ordinary. He can honour the extraordinary grief. Outside, the gardens bloom with less wildness this year, but more care. People plant not only for sustenance, but for remembrance. Marigolds for their mothers, rosemary for the lost, foxglove and yarrowing for healing. Even the bees seem gentler. And so, in these quiet spaces, memory walks like sunlight across the floor, not harsh, but warming, and each creak of the stair, each footstep on the path, is another stitch in the long tapestry of recovery. Rain comes in a whisper in early July, soaking into the warm soil, softening everything it touches. The townspeople welcome it like an old friend. They sit in their porches and listen, no longer fearing shadows behind every sound, but simply hearing the world again. The water seeps through the thatch, drips into barrels, pools in the dips of stone, and with it comes a feeling long absent. Stillness that comforts, not warns. In the meeting house, the sermons speak less of fire, more of forgiveness. The elders meet beneath lantern light and discuss the work of restoration. They are careful, cautious, but the intent is clear. What was broken must be tended. Apologies, once frozen behind fear and pride, begin to flow. Sometimes in letters, sometimes in loaves of bread left on the doorsteps, sometimes in tears over a shared fence post. The rain does not wash away what happened, but it soaks into the soil, into the roots, so that new things might grow. Children walk barefoot through the puddles. They giggle and chase geese through the muddy lanes. And with every splash, the world becomes just a little softer. One evening, just as fireflies begin to rise above the cornfields, a fiddler sits on a porch and begins to play. It is a tune not heard in over a year, a reel once played at weddings, harvest feasts, May dances. The notes drift into the evening like something remembered from a dream. Neighbours stop to listen. A boy leans against a fence post, swaying gently. An old woman taps her heel. Then another joins the music, bringing a dogma. Strings soft as a moth wing. No one dances, not yet. But the music is enough, a sign that joy need not be banished forever. In a town, candles glow in windows once more, not as warnings, but as beacons. There are sewing circles again, and a shared cider. And slowly, laughter becomes less hushed. In the town crier, once the bearer of grim announcements, now shares news of weddings, of births, of new plantings. He rings his bell with a gentler tone. Music does not erase memory, but it gives the spirit breath again. The day is long, the sky wide and blue, stretching like a painted canvas above the town. And as the sun dips behind the hills, everything is awash in a golden stillness. Tonight, a gathering has been planned. Not a trial, not a reckoning, but a remembrance. Candles are placed along the paths that lead to the crest of Gallows Hill. Each family brings one. Each flame flickers softly in the twilight. They walk slowly, silently. Even the children sense the weight of it, though they do not yet understand all the reasons. At the top, there is no sermon, no speech, only silence. Then a name is spoken, another and another. Names of the lost, names once feared, names now honoured. The stars begin to show themselves overhead. The wind carries a hush across the hillside. People hold hands. Tears fall. And then the bell of the meeting house rings once, low, clear. Not a warning, a benediction. As you listen now, wrapped in your own stillness, know that the quiet after sorrow is sacred, that the world, even after breaking, finds a way to hold us. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts drift like smoke. And may the peace these people sought, the light they began to kindle, reach you where you rest. Tomorrow, we will begin the final part of our story. For now, sleep. Morning settles upon Salem with a hush. The hills wear a mantle of dew, and the breath of early dawn curls above the rooftops like a slow exhale. In this softest of hours, memories drift like motes in golden sunlight. There is a shape to absence. Not just the empty chair or the quiet place at a table, but something deeper, a rhythm altered, a note removed from the song. The villagers know this shape well. They rise and greet it gently, not with fear, but with recognition. Grief has softened the edges, become part of a pattern of their days. It is present in the way they speak with care, in the way they reach for each other when laughter comes too suddenly, too brightly. Even the land seems to remember. There is a curve in the path behind the churchyard where the wind always moves differently, where footsteps slow and birds fall silent. Here, memory lingers, not to haunt, but to be honoured. There is work still to do, fields to tend, herbs to dry, children to teach. But now, even these small tasks are acts of reverence. The world has not forgotten its wounds. It has only learned to live with them. Summer wanes. Leaves at the edge of the orchard blush with hints of rust and gold. The breeze grows more contemplative. Long shadows stretch across the fields, reminding the villagers that time, though gentle, always moves forward. In the attic of the old parsonage, Mary Walcott discovers a bundle of letters bound with ribbon. They are not accusations, nor confessions, but everyday things. Notes about seed swaps, shared pies, the price of candles. She reads them aloud by lamplight, her voice catching on words penned by friends long gone or changed. There is comfort in the ordinary, a powerful salve in remembering that life, too, once unfolded with ease. Elders begin recording their thoughts in ledgers and journals, not sermons, but reflections. What it felt like to be a neighbour, what it cost to believe the wrong voice, how silence, sometimes, was the loudest choice of all. And so, a second story begins to form, one not of fear, but of insight, a lattice work of experience through which light now passes. Future generations will look back through it, not to imitate, but to understand. This, too, is a kind of justice. The harvest moon rises fat and golden above Salem's fields. The first frost nips at the pumpkins and lays a silver sheen on the well-worn road that winds from barn to heath. Families gather for season's end. There are stews and baked apples, cider warmed with cinnamon, and long hours spent near the fire. But the stories shared are different now. Children are told not only of saints and scriptures, but of the women who once lived among them, healers, midwives, caretakers of law. Their memory is reclaimed, reshaped, and rooted in dignity. One girl, hair like corn silk, stands in the kitchen doorway, eyes wide as her grandmother speaks of Sarah Good and Tituba. The child does not flinch. She listens. She asks. She learns. Outside, lanterns flicker in windows and porches, not just for light, but for remembrance. They are quiet. They are a quiet promise. We see what was. We choose what will be. Even the animals seem to know. The dogs no longer bark at passing figures in the dusk. The horses stand calmer at their posts. Peace, once so rare, has settled like a shawl across the shoulders of the town. Night folds itself gently over Salem one final time in our tale. A calm darkness, not of dread, but of deep rest. In the meeting house, the last of the old candles burns. Its flame dances low, long, steady, a quiet guardian of memory. This is where our story bows. A town scared by fear has learned to kneel before forgiveness. Not all things are mended. Not all names redeemed in life. But the will to remember rightly has taken root. Gallows Hill is now blanketed with grass and clover. No stones mark it, but those who visit know. They bring flowers, they pause, they whisper names into the wind. A new schoolhouse stands near the river, where children learn not just scripture, but reason, where questions are honoured, where imagination is no longer feared. The sky above Salem, once so heavy with clouds of judgment, is now a quiet vault of stars. And you, dear listener, have walked the path with us. Let the silence now hold you. Let the tale drift into dreams. The world turns gently. The past rests easy. Always a light remains.